So good morning, everybody. I think it's time to start. Before I invite Jaideep on the panel to put up an opening address for us. I think there is. You will find there are views on the attendee view, which will be like chat window and a Q&A window. So I would suggest any questions to any speaker you have it, please put it on a chat window. My team who's in the background is actually going to review all of these questions, and at appropriate time they would be putting it across to the speaker as well. If you have any problem as such, you can't view it, you can't hear it, any other problem, you should be able to put it on a chat window, or you can call up the person who has booked your seat to get sorted out. So offline also as well as online, we should be able to help you there. There's a live streaming happening, so you should be able to view everything. Your participation from a voice perspective would not be happening, but you can always put a text across, which we can put it across to speakers. The team behind the scene is every minute reviewing what you're putting it on a chat window or on a Q&A window. Second, I think there is an option to do networking. So if you want, you can catch up with your colleagues and peers. There would be a break time for you, and the platform will allow you to do that. Other than that, keep your mobile phones on silent. And I think, we should begin. Let me invite Jaideep. Jaideep is the CEO for Mosaic Digital for last 3 years now, Jaideep?
Yes, indeed.
3 years. And I think I have a privilege of working with him for last 10 years, 10 odd plus years with him. So, I may say, next 10 minutes, he would be sharing a lot of research and insights around the real estate to set the context for us and the agenda for us. And then from there on, we will take on forwards with the discussions. So very, very warm welcome to everybody. Be safe, be at home. And Jaideep, all yours.
Thank you, Salil, and good morning to everyone, to our guests and speakers, and to the VCCIRCLE team as well. Great to be opening this very important event up. I think, as you'll see very shortly, the real estate sector is one of the most important ones for the economy. And as we go through this unprecedented crisis and emerge hopefully on the other side very soon, this is a sector which is going to play a very important role. So let me just share a little bit of our own research from our VCC Edge platform, and also some thoughts that we have gleaned in speaking to some of the experts who are speaking later today, as well as from our own editorial team as well, and hopefully set the context for the discussions over the next couple of hours.
Good morning.
Yeah,
morning.
These people need no introduction, but I'll still introduce them. Murali is the CEO of Shriram Properties, Chairman and Managing Director. Abhijit, the co-CEO of ESR India, and Anshul Singhal is founder and Managing Director of Welspun One Logistics Parks. In the next 20 to 25 minutes, we'll try and understand from them what's happening in residential real estate market and warehousing, which is emerging as a strong asset class in India. I'll start with you, Murali, and try and understand from you. A lot of politicians have said to the industry bodies and to the developers that they should drop prices and sell. That's the only way to survive. Do you think you as a developer or the industry is ready to do that and accept that suggestion, or are you fighting back?
Definitely, I disagree with them, whatever they have mentioned. While on this, there is some merit in what they are saying. Unfortunately, we are trying to give paracetamol for corona, diabetes, liver cancer, all kind of diseases. We are giving one medicine, which will not work. So India has grown today. India is a very different nation altogether. Each state, each city functions or reacts to a very different situation. Hence, we need to apply different medicines for different problems. We cannot apply medicine for a problem in Bombay to Chennai. We cannot apply the medicine what is suitable for Bangalore to Delhi. See, India is well diversified today. The problems are also very, very different. If you let's take a deep dive into it. If you look at most of the bankers and some of the senior most people in the country, for them real estate is Bombay, for them real estate is Delhi. We need to get out of that. India is not Bombay and Delhi. 40% of GDP comes out of South India. So we need to look at how, each city behaves. If you look at luxury segment across the country, which is going through some trouble, I don't know whether discount is a solution for luxury segment. Maybe that is a solution. I don't know whether 20% discount or 10% discount or 5% discount. I don't know what is the solution for that. But there is no, the problem is still yet to be addressed. Whereas if you come to the most needed affordable housing segment today in the entire country, if you come to South India, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, and part of eastern part of India, maybe Calcutta if you take, these four cities, the supply of affordable housing is very, very limited, whereas the demand is very, very high. If you look at all the senior developers in these markets, they have practically zero unsold inventory on affordable housing. Hence, there is no question of reducing the price. Also, there is no scope for them to reduce the price. So maybe the same set of developers, they may be stuck with some stock in luxury segment. Hence, that needs a different solution. If they have a portfolio of retail, if they have a portfolio of hotels, that needs a different solution. You cannot bring real estate under one today and try to get solution. And let's also look at housing for all agenda. That does not talk about luxury housing for all for entire country of 138 crore people. It talks about housing for the needy, housing for the people. We forget, we talk so much about migrant laborers. We forget to talk about migrant employees in migrant white collar jobs today. Plenty. If you take any city today, whether it's Bangalore or Chennai, Hyderabad, Bombay, Pune, any city, more than 60% people have moved from other places. They need first time homes. And for them today, there is very, very little supply available. Let's come to now Bombay and MMR region, Pune and all that. Again, affordable housing. There is a lesser supply, higher demand today. And unsold inventory of this stock is very, very limited from the top 10, top 20 developers. NCR market is very, very different. We cannot apply NCR logic to anything else today. So we need to dissect the entire real estate into several aspects. Affordable is one, luxury is one, hospitality is one. Sometime back we talked about office space is one. Retail is another one. We need to dissect the real estate and try to give a solution. It's not only dissecting the verticals in the real estate field, you should also dissect into the city wise. Each city behaves its own way. Hence, whatever they have said, there is some meaning in some section of the country. It is not applicable. Whether it has been going in social media, what Mr. Deepak Parekh said, or what Mr. Piyush Goyal said, what Mr. Uday Kotak said. Probably they all looked at from their point of view, wherever they have pain points. Maybe HDFC has some pain points which they try to address. I don't know, Kotak might have some pain points they must have tried to address. But let us look at the pain points of the common man. Let us look at the pain points of the public here.
So you were saying that their thoughts and opinions are misplaced.
Absolute misleading, or probably it is not, sentence is not complete. Probably they should have added something different.
Why don't you complete the sentence?
Yeah, this is not applicable to Chennai, this is not applicable to Bangalore, this is not applicable to Hyderabad, this is not applicable to Thane, this is not applicable to Pune, this is not applicable to Calcutta on affordable housing. Hence, I would encourage, probably if I have to make a statement, I have to complete the sentence, I would say all affordable housing players in this country, in this market, please go and get ready for 10% to 15% price increase. All the buyers, beware. The prices are likely to go up in affordable housing in the cities. Now come to luxury segment. People who are in the luxury side, find a solution. By giving 3 months moratorium or 6 months moratorium is not going to give a solution because demand is not available today. Neither, what Mr. Piyush Goyal said, demand is unlikely to be generated in the next 3 to 6 months time. Where? On luxury segment. Affordable, there is excessive demand today, we are not able to supply. On the other hand, economic clear section, practically zero supply, which is what government is supposed to address, whereas demand is piled up for the last 20 years, it's not addressed yet. So we need to dissect this and see. This is what I would complete the sentence, stating that, yes, these are all the areas, prices are going up. As we speak, we have launched a project during this lockdown. We are launching this quarter, which means first quarter, another 2 projects, which means practically we would have launched 3 projects in this first quarter during this period. We have increased the price by 5%. he wanted to increase by 10%, but my sales team said, wait for the second quarter, we'll increase the price. We are increasing the price on affordable housing by 10% in the first 2 quarters. That's a reality today. While people talk about price reduction, which I don't subscribe, on affordable housing today.
That's being very optimistic, Murali, I must say. I'll move to Abhijit and try and understand from him what he sees in warehousing segment. You know, it's an asset class that's doing really well. People have, you know, a lot of shopping is moving online. That trend was anyway there, and it's getting further cemented. What kind of opportunities do you see in warehousing? Do you think it's a good time to be in that space, and there's going to be good and attractive opportunities there?
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah. Appreciate this. I mean, it's quite interesting to see everybody's view on the gloom and doom kind of a situation. I think I'm a little more optimistic than people around here. But surely, you know, to understand the warehousing situation, the warehousing and industrial situation, like I said earlier, it's short-term pain. It is short-term pain and long-term gain. Of course, the short-term pain is a lot. It is quite painful. But I think overall, looking at what's going to happen in the warehousing sector as well as the industrial sector, we see that we would see that as one of the. I mean, obviously, it's not been insulated. Obviously, this whole situation has hurt it bad, but we see a long-term. You know, we see a lot of long-term growth in that sector. I think to go back, I want to go back about a few years. I think the growth of warehousing and industrial started about 2 to 3 years ago. Approximately 3 years ago, after GST, after all the GST reforms, after all the, GST, after all the tax reforms, after the whole consolidation process, 3PLs coming in, e-commerce, the increase of e-commerce in India. I think that's where the real growth started. So we came into the COVID situation with a strong pipeline, with high requirement demands. Obviously, very, very challenging yet, but we came in that situation much stronger. So I think as compared to some of the asset classes, that was one of the difference that you would see. In terms of the warehousing sector, I think one of the big things for us has been the e-commerce. Has been e-commerce. There's been exponential growth in the e-commerce sector. So we are seeing increase in demand in that sector. We are seeing increase in demand in the food business, in the cold storage business, in the pharmaceutical business. So there are certain sections that will continue to drive the growth, the actual growth out there. On the supply side, I think that's one of the opportunity for some of the institutional players. Due to the COVID situation, I think quite a few people have talked about delays of 2 months, 3 months. I think I'm not that optimistic here. I think the delays are about 6 months because of construction issues, labor issues, construction issues, and also materials. There are not too much materials available like concrete and sand. So that has actually created a lot of. We have started off. We're about 9 sites that have already started construction, but we are not full steam. We must be about 40%. There. So that will take a little time. So I think supply side, like I said, it's a big opportunity for us. Supply will go down. Demand side will grow. It will grow. It will exponentially grow in the next 6 to 8 months. 6 to 8 months. I think the industrial side will take a little time. I think industrial side will take another 6 to 8 months to start seeing the auto manufacturing and other components really start off.
Sure.
I have
Anshul,
a very optimistic view on what Abhijit said on warehousing side. We have large asset in Calcutta Township. We have a space for warehousing. Before COVID lockdown, there were about 3 people on the table discussing on a joint development. Now, during this last 1 month time, 2 of them turned out to come back to buy the asset and develop it. It's a large asset, 60 acres land. People are talking about developing warehousing. See, suddenly the new again, they are tied up with a new investor. It's a sovereign fund. They are looking at now buying the asset today. So people are also looking at opportunity today, how to lock in the asset at a good value for a long-term one. So I hold a very, whatever Abhijit said, very optimistic view. I also hold along with it.
Sure, sure, understood. I'll take that point further, Anshul, and try and understand from you. You just launched a company a few months back, and the market is hit by this corona situation. Are you sort of disappointed, or are you sort of happy that you're going to find good deals in the market, and you can sort of strike deals at good valuations at good price? What's your sense there? You're on mute.
Common problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'll start off by telling Mr. Malayappan, I would also be interested in looking at your land, sir. So please let us know. We'll get
Some
in
deals
touch.
happening here.
We'll get in touch with you right after.
We are already in discussion with him.
No,
Go
so on the fact that we started Welspun One in December, and really we started One Industrial Spaces in July 1, which has been exactly 1 year. Within a year, we've managed to get a good backing from Welspun Group. Welspun Group is a $2.7 billion organization. We are the only platform in India which is backed by an industrial house, a large industrial house, and because this is industrial real estate, that comes with a lot of synergies. We are actually, whether I'm happy or sad, I don't know, it's hard to say, but some of the best teams in the world were formed during difficult times, like including the likes of IBM, and I can give you a whole list. The beauty has been we continued hiring, we continued building. In December 1, we were 5 people. Today, we are close to 30 people, we have a complete platform in place. We have a large asset in Bhiwandi, which is about 3 million square feet, which is one of the most difficult markets in India to do warehousing in. So we are actually very positive about the growth. We do not have legacy problems. We do not have operational sites. So we do not have to really worry about delays, construction delays, cost of holding money, cost of holding labor. So that puts us in a very unique position. Also, we have enough capital to deploy in terms of buying land, doing joint ventures, joint developments. And what we offer is a little bit of a different model, is development management. So from Welspun One perspective, we, I think, are in a very good place when it comes to the timing of our business. A little, if I can talk a minute or two about taking forward from what Abhijit said on the COVID situation, my views on that. So if that's okay, there's really 3 things that boils down to what's happening in the warehousing space post COVID, and I'll quickly touch upon these 3 things. I know we're short on time. So number 1, is really internet penetration, which is driving for the warehousing growth. Number 2 is your acceleration of what was already happening, right? And number 3 is really a change in buying, is sector preparedness, right? All of these 3 things Abhijit touched, but just look at warehousing as a sector. We've had $6 billion, which was announced in the last few years, which is good, high quality institutional capital, including, Abhijit, who's one of the leaders in the space here, chasing this space. So that's high quality institutional $6 billion. What does that mean? That means no NBFCs, no NPAs, no mounting debts like the residential sector, right? Very, very low vacancy. Warehouses can be delivered in 6 to 9 months, 12 months. So very low construction cycle, which means very low credit risk, right? To top it all, we've had very favorable policies like GST. We've had 100% FDI allowance in warehousing. So if you put all this ready, we are prepared as a sector. Now you can have a great opportunity in front of you, but as long as if you're not prepared to bounce on that opportunity, then it's going to be very difficult to be able to capture that opportunity. So warehousing sector, unlike many other sectors in real estate, has been well prepared. The sector preparedness is high. Now, in the last 4 months, the internet penetration, which is my point number 2, has gone up by 24%. So India had an active internet user base of about 570 million users pre-COVID. Now we are at 670 million, right? That growth would have taken India 5 years to get to. So because the active internet users have gone up by close to 70 million in a very, very short window, what that does for a company or a very important customer like an Amazon or a Grofers or a Big Basket or a First Cry is their active users go up very quickly. What that does is it increases the space for warehousing demand. As Abhijit rightly pointed out, that in the next 6 months are going to be bad for everybody, right? So it's going to be slow. But having said that, what's going to happen in the next 6 months? Supply is also going to be less, right? Now, demand and supply is a simple calculation. The minute the supply is less and demand is now rising because of active e-commerce, you're going to have hopefully a slight upswing in rentals, right? Because the space for demand is going to increase. There's going to be migrant labor issues, there's going to be labor issues, material issues. That's short term. But luckily, our sites are not in city centers. Our sites are away from city centers. So, being able to, if you can find good accommodation and safe practices, you should be able to deliver quality supply, especially for players like ESR, Welspun One, Indo Spaces and us, and so on, which are organized companies. So if you combine these three things, there's a big buying behavior change. The first reaction now is I go online. I don't want to go to a mall. I don't want to go shop and try on a shirt, right? I want to go online. So effectively, my computer window is replacing my shop window,
Sure.
and my warehousing space is replacing my shelf space. So if you put these three things together, the next 2021 year for warehousing is looking very good. Obviously 2020, there are going to be short-term gains, short-term gains,
Sure.
like what Abhijit said.
Sure. Murali, I'll try and understand from you. I mean, there has been a lot of demand from developer body to the government. I mean, CREDAI has written letter stating 10 things that they want the government to look at, and there have been other such demands. What is needed exactly from the government? A lot, I mean, some part has been done in terms of moratorium and interest rate and IBC and all those things. What are the 3-4 things that you think are needed to sort of take the industry to on the right track?
The first and foremost thing I would ask the government, not some small moratorium here and there, 1 month buffer or some amendment here and all that. No. Now today we have reached a stage. This country has reached a stage. Forget real estate for the time being. Forget any specific industry for the time being. The country has reached a stage. India has been built on 4 pillars: bureaucracy, politics, politicians or political network, judiciary, and media. Now there is a time which has come to add the 5th pillar, business. The people who create, who create wealth for this country, they need to be trusted first. How do we do this? How do we implement it? Today, this British has created about 100 years ago this trust amongst the people who could create wealth, so that they could, if they can start supporting the freedom movement, that will hurt them. Hence, they created the documentation in such a way, control mechanism in such a way that businessmen were seen as a criminal and crooks. So the wealth was not allowed to be created in this nation. That was a mistake British has done. Last 7 years, we are building the same mistake. Recently, Pandemic Act has been amended. 1847 Act has been amended. We should be amended 1847. Scrap this act. You create a new act. Now, 5th pillar to be created is what I would say. What we should demand, all the business community should demand from the government is as follows. Trust us first. That's very important. How you trust media, how you trust politicians, how you trust bureaucracy, how you trust, judiciary, same level of trust you do it. Which means next 3 years, give a holiday to all the governing authorities, all the regulatory authorities, give a holiday for 3 years or 5 years. Remove, all the development authorities, all the regulatory authorities, all income tax authorities. Give them clearly define the framework and say that within this parameter, you keep functioning for the next 5 years. Will not ask any question. No ED will come to you. No, I'm not saying all the businessmen will do right thing. I am sure there will also be some wrong people. There will also be 10%, 20%, 30 people, maybe as good as wrong people in the other 4 pillars. So that will be the situation. I would say probably because now you are giving freedom first, maybe less number of wrong set of people compared to the other 4 pillars to start with. It will take some more time for this to decay. So we need to start trusting. I'll give one example. Government of India has announced 300,000 crores of support to MSMEs, and which is a very genuine attempt by Government of India. I believe the highest office has been chasing the banks to disburse. I have been talking to various bankers. Today, they went ahead in disbursing sanction letters on SMEs who are borrowing less than 25 crore limit. The bankers are saying the success rate is less than 10% today, which means there is no fight in those businessmen to do business. So how do you address that? See, by giving moratorium and all that, it's like giving painkiller. Painkiller is not the solution. You need to correct your stem. You need to make sure that your body is fully balanced. That can happen only by trusting people. We need to trust the wealth creators. That's very, very important. Today there is a distrust. I will not say there is a distrust. Distrust from both sides. Businessmen do not trust government. Government do not trust businessmen. It is time has come now. I would say all the industry bodies should not keep asking small little things. They should ask one shot next 3 years. Then I can tell you we can beat China on their knees down. That's a possibility. We can become 5 trillion economy in the next 3 years time or 2 years time much faster than we expect. Then we can once address your spinal issue, then we can talk about whether we need to put some ointment here or some ointment there. Then that's the easier one. Otherwise, this small little medicine is not going to help. So time has come for complete transformational change we need to bring in.
Sure.
CREDA can keep on asking, CA can keep on asking. I don't think it will give solution. It may give solution for maybe 5% of the people. Again, there are vested interests. Everywhere there are vested interests. So I don't think that's a solution is my view.
Good insights there, Murali. Abhijit, what happens to supply in warehousing? I mean, obviously that is disrupted because of the labor issue, liquidity issue, and the supply chain overall is disrupted, and you can't acquire much in warehousing segment because, like we discussed some time back, there aren't many opportunities that you can look at from acquisition perspectives. So, do you think what happens to supply side? Well, there is demand, and that's going to increase with time, but will supply be able to keep up with that?
See, first of all, if you ask me, I think Class A is the new norm. I think very, very clear, using the tech, using the recent terminologies, so Class A is going to be the new norm, I think, going forward, because with the new kind of technology that is needed to run warehousing, after this whole pandemic thing, warehousing will change, that the structures will change. People are not now, people need good warehousing, good quality, warehouses. People will like I said, the racking systems will change up, technology will change. We ourselves have changed, we ourselves have actually launched an ESR app, which runs the entire infrastructure, which actually runs the entire infra part of the business through the app. So your phone runs the entire, infra part. So I think looking at all this with Class A being the new norm, the supply side on Class A is going to be low. It was anyway low. There was still a gap between good quality demand, supply for Class A space. So yeah, and also what's happened in the last 3-4 years is it's not only the institutional players who are actually building Class A. It is also some of the local developers have started to improve their quality. So what's going to happen is, because of lack of capital, lack of labor, you are going to see a shortfall in supply for the next at least 2 to 3 quarters. Supply will come down. So that, as I said, will be a big opportunity for players who have the capital, who have the land, who already have the approvals, have also been able to sit down and work a good strategy in terms of labor, construction. They've been able to talk to their contractors. They've been able to, get the right structures on site. I think that is the big opportunity. So I think on the supply side, like I said, it's not a 2 months or a 3 months off. It's about a 6 months to 9 months delay in terms of that. So which is where we ourselves, ESR and some of the other players also, and Anshul also said, that a lot of companies, a lot of the local developers have already started reaching out to us to be able to either collaborate with us, partner with us, or sell with us, because there are a lot of projects that have been signed up, but they are not able to start construction, or they're not able to go forward. So you will see a change. There. You'll see a lot of large institutional players coming and helping the local developers fill out that gap between supply and
sure, understood. Anshul, I'll try and understand from you, what is the kind of equation you've seen between, let's say, a grade A player and the unorganized market. That space, and the equation has evolved over the years, right? How is it now? What percentage of the market is kind of dominated by grade A players? What's the equation like? How rentals have moved? Can you give me some sense there? What's happening? Let's say, because Abhijit was telling me that a lot of local players have also started sort of upgraded themselves and started building better and more efficient parks. So what's happening there? What's the gap like in terms of rentals and share of market?
Yeah, it's a good question. So basically, if you see the last, as Abhijit rightly said, in the last 3-4 years is when this is really all blown up. In terms of warehousing becoming a very important asset class. Globally, this was always there, right? So if you look at the US or Europe or Hong Kong or Japan, it's already very matured markets. Now, even in such matured markets, there is some insane demand which is coming up post-COVID. So US, Amazon alone has hired 175,000 workers. India, Amazon is hiring 50,000 workers. Why am I saying all this? Is to answer your question, unorganized local developers, as everybody thinks a warehouse is very easy to build. I can build a warehouse in 6 months. अरे warehousing में क्या है यार, फटाफट वो PB लाएंगे और वो खड़ा हो जाएगा. But it's not that simple a business. When you talk to customers and when you actually try to solve an Amazon's requirement or a Flipkart's requirement or a DHL's requirement, they're fairly technically
Advanced.
engaged buildings, fairly advanced buildings. Now the problem is the Superman mentality, which is there in a lot of new trying to upcoming developers who haven't done this before. They quickly begin to realize that once they get into deep, and these are smart guys, I'm not ridiculing them, they quickly begin to realize that we need help, we need support, we need advice, we need guidance. We have capital, we have land, but we honestly don't understand this business, and it's not as simple as this guy told me that I can put up a warehouse in no time. And that's when they would start approaching us. They would start talking to us, and while they are talking to us, they come to the conclusion that it's better just to partner, right? It's better to join hands, and two are better than one. So over the last few years, we've seen a lot of local developers or people who have landowners, family offices, who have partnered with the likes of the institutional players like ESR, Welspun, and so on. So you're going to continue seeing that trend. Now what's happening post-COVID is that's accelerating. The other thing that's happening in the last 15 to 20 days or 30 days that we are seeing deal flow is the price expectation of landlords is becoming more curtailed, or more realistic would be the better word, right? So he knows my land is going to sell for 1.5 crores an acre or 1 crore an acre or 1.2 crores an acre, but the starting was some crazy number, right? Now because of COVID, I don't think there's been a correction in terms of a very deep correction in the market, because these are already non-city center lands. But the starting point is more realistic, where you can start discussing numbers. They're more open to JVs. They're more open to realistic price expectations. So that's the difference I've seen. As far as delivering grade A quality, as I said, it's a complicated product when you get inside it. It's easy. Local developers have upped their game. Definitely, they've upped their game significantly. Some of them are really, really good, almost the same as any institutional players. But at the same time, saying grade A and delivering grade A are two very different things, right? In my brochure, I can always write all the specs and say I'm giving grade A, but can I actually deliver it is where it's not happening, and customers know that difference. So that's my
Sure, understood. On the residential side, Murali, you sound very optimistic and positive. That's a good thing. But can you help us understand, what kind of numbers did you clock in the first 5 months of this calendar year compared to the same period last year? That will give us a sense as to how the market is moving. Just give like a rough estimate.
See, last year we did about 3.3 million square foot pre-sale. In the last quarter, I think it was close to about 1 million square feet in the last quarter. During the lockdown period, where there was nothing open until end of May, we sold about 350 units, which is roughly about 3.5 to 4 lakh square feet as on date now. So we hope to finish this quarter with about 6 lakh.
So you were saying 350 unit in the first few months of this year?
No, first 2 months of this financial year.
Okay, okay.
So 5 months if we take, it's about 1.3 million square feet approximately.
Mm-hmm.
So for
What was it like? What was it like last year?
I mean, these first 2 months, I mean, first quarter, I mean, last quarter of this financial year, Jan, Feb, March, we haven't lost much. Last 10 days was the dampener because, I mean, 24th was lockdown.
Sure.
Unfortunately, we launched some projects on March 7th and 22nd, which did not get a necessary attraction.
Sure.
Otherwise, I mean, we were more or less there, about 85% we were there for the, I mean, first quarter of this calendar year.
I mean, generally, what percentage of the usual sales that people are able to clock in this market? Because there is one section that's saying we have clocked, you know, this kind of sales number, we have sold this much a unit here and there. We see so many reports. On the other hand, you know, the developer and the industry body is seeking for, you know, n number of demand and help. So one is not able to wrap, you know, sort of head around it. So what's your sense? What kind of sales number are we going to see this year?
In the Q4 financial year, as I said, it's not 100% we have done. We have done 85%. There is a loss of 15% due to lockdown. In Q1, this financial year now, in the last 2 months' time as we speak today, we have done only about 25-40%. That's to that extent, it's a loss. Hence, I mean, there are some support system is required, like, I mean, interest moratorium, which is a must. For any type of affordable housing, or because now migrant labor, they are not coming back yet. It will take time.
Sure.
So
Sure.
there is I mean, interest subsidy. I mean, interest moratorium is one thing which is required. The approval delays, which has to be removed completely, regulatory bodies to remove that. Then, I mean, there has to be free platform for people to do it. Then various other infrastructure support which is required. So those are all the areas for affordable housing is needed. Then GST, there is some demand on GST, which is unwanted. So there is no input credit available. That has to be provided immediately. Stamp duty, which is one of the highest, and it is not supporting the rental income or investor market. So that has to be supported. So there are quite a lot of small little items which will help government to enhance their revenues today. Currently, they are also choked, but they also need to get more revenues. Rather than opening liquor shops, they can open, you know, and they can reduce the stamp duty, which can give them a much higher revenue today. So that's where I think governments have to focus now. So if they do it, I'm sure
cool.
it will come back.